Mr. Tresser,
Good afternoon.
can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who you're currently employed by?
The City of Ansonia Police Department,
And how long have you been a police officer?
17 years and 9 months.
And what are your current responsibilities?
I'm currently assigned to the Detective Division.
And did you have to go through any training to be a police officer?
I graduated from the Waterbury Police Academy in 2007. Did field training with the department. I've attended other specialized training, such as DEA Basic Narcotics School. I served on the DEA task force for about 5.5 years. And then I did other training and experience, or other training classes ongoing annually, and regarding interview and interrogation and other training related to the Detective Division.
Now, were you working for the Ansonia Police Department on December 2nd of 2019?
I was, as a member of the DEA task force.
And what do you mean by that?
On the DEA task force, we are employed by the City of Ansonia Police Department, but we work outside the agency in New Haven under the task force, the federal task force.
So, effectively, you were working in New Haven and not necessarily with the Ansonia Police Department at that particular time?
Correct, but I was still an Ansonia police detective.
Okay. So I want to direct your attention to an investigation that occurred on or about that day. Do you recall an investigation that was instituted on that day?
Yes.
Okay. What do you recall about that?
I had finished my normal shift at around 5 o'clock on that December 2nd. I got a call at home to respond to the police department where there was a report of a suspected homicide and a missing child. And I responded to the police department, and I was briefed on the case at that point, what details were discovered up until that point. At the time, when I responded to the police department, I was briefed by Lieutenant Froelich and Lieutenant Lynch, I believe, and there was information regarding a vehicle that had left the house on 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, and we had information that the vehicle was registered to a Jose Morales and that the vehicle was registered to a 105 First Avenue in New Haven.
So, when you got this information, what were your responsibilities at this point?
At this point, New Haven PD was contacted, and they had located the vehicle parked in front of the residence in New Haven. Myself and Officer Nelson were assigned to go out to New Haven and to maintain visual surveillance of that parked vehicle, while other members of the agency and other agencies were gathering more intel back at the police department in Ansonia and at the original crime scene.
So, and did you in fact do that?
Yes.
And what happened after you did you maintained visual surveillance of the vehicle?
Myself and Officer Nelson relieved New Haven officers that located the vehicle. We sat in my unmarked DEA vehicle, and at one point I exited the vehicle before it started snowing too heavily, and I was plainclothes at the time. I walked past the parked vehicle, looked in it to see if there was a car seat base at the time, because that was a major concern of the missing child. At the time I saw a baseball bat in the front passenger floorboard, but there was no car seat or car seat base in the vehicle. We waited until about 3:40 a.m. on December 3rd until other personnel arrived on scene to make contact at the residence.
So how long would you say you were on surveillance that night?
I would estimate it was anywhere from 4 to 5 hours.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 53. Is this the vehicle that you saw that night at 105 First Avenue, New Haven?
Yes, it is.
States 52, another angle of the vehicle. Again, is that the same vehicle?
Yes.
And 54.
Is that the vehicle that you saw that night?
Yes.
Now, when other detectives arrived at 105 First Ave, what was your responsibilities at that point?
At that time, we made contact with the assistance of New Haven PD, with the residents of the house. The male that opened the door for us and allowed us into the residence, his name was Marcos, let us in. We advised him while we were there. We were there to speak to Jose and also to look for the missing child, Vanessa.
Now, outside of that, did you have any investigative purpose when you were at 105 First Ave?
So when we were at 105 First Ave the first time, we were looking for any evidence of Vanessa, obviously. After the Lieutenant Froelich and Detective Adcox at the time transported Jose Morales back to the police department for an interview, again, I maintained surveillance of the vehicle, and the plan was to wait until the family went back to sleep and the lights turned off, but that didn't happen, so we towed the vehicle around 5:40 in the morning, I believe, and I followed the vehicle back to the Troop I barracks in Bethany, and it was not touched or manipulated in any way on the exterior or the interior.
Now, at some point in time, were you present when there were when search warrants were executed on that vehicle?
On the following day, the 4th, I was present while the State Police Major Crimes Unit executed the search warrant on the vehicle. I did not participate in the search warrant, but I was there to maintain custody of the vehicle as they performed their search.
Now, after that search warrant was conducted, can you tell us a little bit about what else you did in connection to this case?
I had left the Troop I barracks and returned back to Ansonia, went back to the residence at 6.5 Myrtle Avenue to get the keys for the victim's vehicle, which was a black Ford Focus. The house was still being maintained by Ansonia police personnel at that time. I brought the keys out of the residence, and the vehicle was again towed to Troop I barracks and was not touched inside or out.
And were you present when was there a search warrant done on that vehicle as well?
Yes, there was.
And were you present for that search warrant?
Yes, I was.
After that warrant was executed on that vehicle, what else did you do in relation to this case?
Once both vehicles were processed, all the evidence that was seized from the state police, I transported back to the Ansonia Police Department. It was labeled and placed into the evidence room.
Now, after you did that, what else did you do in connection to this case?
On the following day, we had a report of information of items being recovered at the Kitchication Storage Facility in Hamden. There were items that were reported to have blood-like substance on them, and we responded out to the scene in Hamden, along with the State Police Major Crime Squad, who ultimately processed the evidence that was seized there.
Okay, and in addition to helping out, or I guess responding to Kitchication, is there anything else that you did in relation to the investigation in this case?
On scene at the Kitchication facility in Hamden, I conducted a few interviews with the owner, the truck worker that was with the truck driver, a few other employees at the building. We also obtained consent from the owner of the facility to access and search the Kitchication bins that were located in Derby and Ansonia that we knew were on that truck route.
And did you, in fact, go back and assist in that?
Yes, I was there present while the state trooper from Major Crimes processed both. There was 2 bins on Derby Avenue in Derby and 1 bin in Ansonia on Main Street.
And now, when you say 2 bins on Derby Avenue in Derby, where was one of the bins located? I guess one site where the bins were located.
They were in a parking lot, I believe it's for St. Michael's Church, and it was the southwest corner of the parking lot, right in the corner by Bank Street and Derby Avenue.
Okay. In relation to this case, were you tasked with gathering any type of surveillance from the surrounding area?
Yes, based on the intensity of the crime and the amount of information that was coming in from all different sources, there was a group of different agencies, including Antonia, Derby, FBI, State Police, that helped work together to try to obtain as much surveillance video as we possibly could. Over the course of the investigation, there's been thousands of hours of video that's been obtained. I personally have watched countless, hundreds and hundreds of hours myself, rewatched the same videos over and over again. But there was, some cameras and some information that would come in would lead us to further information to where to look for the next camera. So it was a lengthy process to continue to obtain surveillance video.
Now, when you were looking through this various surveillance cameras that law enforcement seized in relation to this case, were you looking for anything in particular?
So at the point of this investigation, initially I was looking for a vehicle matching the description of Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra that was seen leaving the scene of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue after the officer's welfare check. As the investigation went on, there was information that led myself to look back into video for the victim's black Ford Focus. As we found out through phone data and other information that there were trips made to New Haven, and I didn't initially see the Nissan Sentra, but once the other information was developed regarding the Ford Focus, I was able to locate a vehicle that matched the description of the Ford Focus on the video.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 168. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Now, in relation to State's 168, can you tell us in this map of what is this 168? Can you tell us what this is?
It's a map of mainly Ansonia and part of Derby, Shelton, and on the legend, those are the cameras and their locations that were the most valuable to my investigation.
So, with regards to on the legend where it says crime scene 6.5 Myrtle Ave, it's looks like a red tag. Would that be in the area up here, pointing to the middle top portion of the map, where there's a purple, green, and red tag clustered together?
Yes.
And would this be the box, the closer up look to the right there, where the purple, green, and the red tag are located?
Yes, it would.
So this is the area of the crime scene. So 22 Cottage Street. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what 22 Cottage Street is?
22 Cottage Street is a residence. Cottage Street runs parallel to Myrtle Avenue, and there is a perpendicular street, Judson Street, that you could access the end of Myrtle Avenue through from Cottage to Myrtle Street.
So if I'm standing in the front yard of Cottage Street, 22 Cottage, and I'm looking straight, what am I looking at?
You're looking directly down Judson Place.
Okay. Now, can you tell us whether or not there was any video that was seized from 22 Cottage Place in relation to this case?
There were many hours of surveillance footage seized from the Google Nest doorbell cam of that residence.
And were you able to, and you reviewed that footage?
Yes.
When the footage was seized, were you able to determine whether or not the footage was approximate to real time, or was it fast, was it slow, was it actual date?
I was able to determine, based on the fact that it's a Google Nest camera, that it is internet-based and it was in real time.
I want to direct your attention to 14 Mott Street, which is this green tag here, which is again in this box to the right. Can you tell us where 14 Mott Street is in relation to 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
So Mott Street comes off on a Y angle from Cottage Avenue, It's just around the block. It's very close to 6.5 Myrtle Avenue. There's no house on the property in between 14 Cottage Street and 6.5 Myrtle Ave. There's like an open lot there as part of the property. And the house had 3 camera angles on it, 2 of which looked directly up West Street to Myrtle Avenue.
Okay, so if I'm standing in front of 14 Mott Street and I'm looking straight out to the street, what would be directly in front of me?
You would see the intersection of West Street and Mott and Cottage.
So if I went all the way up West Street, what would be that cross street all the way up to at the top of West Street?
Myrtle Avenue.
Okay. And for these camera angles, are you able to see 6.5 Myrtle Ave from these camera angles?
Yes.
And do you know whether or not this particular was camera seized from 14 Mott Street?
Yes, surveillance video was footage was seized, I believe, on 2 different occasions from that residence.
And can you tell us whether or not, have you reviewed this footage?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell us in reviewing the footage whether or not the footage of 14 Mott Street is approximate to real time, ahead, slow? What were your findings when you reviewed the footage?
Based upon corroborating the vehicles and the people walking and everything on the videos from 14 Mott Street and 22 Cottage Street, I was able to determine that the time was in real UTC time, which is Universal Coordinated Time, which is 5 hours ahead of our local time.
So when you were looking at this footage for the target vehicles in relation to this case, you had to look at, you had to subtract 5 hours?
Correct.
Now, I want to direct your attention to 2 Elm Street. That's the orange tag here in the legend, which is located in the center, just about in the center of this exhibit. Can you tell us what 2 Elm Street is?
2 Elm Street was the old Ansonia Police Department at the time.
And can you tell us whether or not you were able to seize any camera footage in relation to this case from the old Ansonia Police Department?
Yes, we were.
And did you review all of that footage?
Yes, I did.
And when in reviewing that footage, are you able to tell us whether or not that footage is approximate to real time? Is it fast? Is it slow?
That footage is approximate to real time.
Now, when you're at the old Ansonia Police Department, can you just give us an idea of what the surroundings look like, the surrounding streets look like?
Looking out from the front of 2 Elm Street, there's an island across, a triangular-shaped island. Elm Street runs across the front of the police department. Looking off into the distance, going up the hill would be Platt Street. And Elm Street would continue off to your right, towards Main Street.
Now, 696 Main Street. This is the purple tag. This is the call-out box, or the up-close box in the lower right-hand corner of this exhibit. Can you tell us what 696 Main Street is?
That's the Ansonia Shell gas station.
And were you able to seize any camera footage from the Shell gas station in relation to this case?
Yes, we were.
And did you review any of that footage for the target vehicles that you've mentioned in connection to this case?
Yes, I did.
And in relation to your reviewing of that footage, were you able to determine whether or not that footage was in real time, approximate to real time, or was it fast, or was it slow?
That footage was 11 minutes slow.
So when you're reviewing that footage, you had to take into account 11 minutes and speed it up, or at least look 11 minutes, or add 11 minutes when you're looking at the footage?
Correct. You had to add 11 minutes.
Okay. 4 Division Street, which is the yellow tag here. just looks like it's just next to where the Shell gas station is. Can you tell us what that is?
That is Maria's Hair Gallery, which is in Derby.
What is, how close to the Shell gas station is Maria's Hair Gallery?
Directly across the street.
And were you able to seize any camera footage from this establishment?
Yes, we were.
And were you able to review that footage in relation to this case for the target vehicles that you've mentioned?
I did.
And in reviewing that footage, were you able to determine whether or not this footage was off in any, by any way?
That footage was in approximate real time.
Approximate real time, okay.
And just as a point of reference, this blue tag here with the I, which is located just south, where just above where it says East Derby, what is that tag?
That is the location of the Kiducation donation bins.
And would that be in the area of St. Michael's Church?
Yes.
In relation to this case, were you able to seize any video from 273 Derby Avenue?
Yes, we were.
Okay. Now, that's the dark blue or black tag right here, just south or just below where the purple and or the dark purple and yellow tags are?
Correct.
Give me one moment.
Your Honor,
Sorry,
I
let me
wonder
hear
if
it.
Mr. Joseph could just slide it over a little bit, because you're referring back to the identification box, but we can't see it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's perfect.
You got it?
Thank you very much.
All set?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. So, again, where my pen is pointed here, the dark blue tag, that would be 273 Derby Ave?
Correct.
And were you able to seize any video from that area?
Yes, we were.
And were you able to review that video to the best that you could for any target vehicles that you think would be connected to this case?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And were you able to determine if that was accurate time, or was it too fast or too slow?
I didn't obtain that video personally, so I believe it appears to be in approximate real time,
Okay.
but I could not confirm that.
And finally,
Directing your attention to this light blue tag here, which would be 535 Main Street, just above the orange tag in this exhibit. Can you tell us what that is?
That's Auto Repairs Unlimited.
And where is Auto Repairs Unlimited in relation to the Shell station?
It's less than a half a mile away down Main Street, on the corner of Main Street and Father Slemmy.
and were you able to, was law enforcement able to seize any video in relation to this case from that establishment?
Yes, we were.
And did you review that video footage yourself?
I did.
And were you able to determine whether or not that video footage was approximate to real time, or was it fast, or was it slow?
I obtained that video footage myself, and it was 17 minutes slow to real time.
Okay. Now, in connection to this case, you said that you reviewed hundreds of hours of video looking for target vehicles, right?
Correct.
And what were the target vehicles in your mind?
It was the Nissan Sentra, silver in color, had a loud exhaust that was, noticeable on any of the videos that had sound recording, and the other vehicle was a black Ford Focus.
Okay. Mayor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you with the marked as States Exhibit 169. It's a full exhibit. Do you recognize States 169?
Yes, I do.
And what is States 169?
That is a CD containing a video montage that we worked together on to condense all of the videos that we deemed important and relevant that contained video footage of the suspect vehicles. And I initialed that disc to show that I had, reviewed it before.
Testifying today?
Yes.
Okay. And in relation, in creating this video, does this montage have, I guess, notations in it regarding each particular video and whether or not it's on approximate to real time, fast or slow?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to play this for the jury.
Sure, how long is the video?
About 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes? Why don't we do that and then take our recess? Thank you.
Chelsea, you want to go? Could you stop it, Chelsea? Stop it real quick. So, one more question before we play the video. So, when you did the video montage in connection to this case, is this video from the entire weekend of November 29th through December 2nd? Or what portion of the weekend did you focus on?
The first and the second.
Thank you. Now, Detective Tresser, what video angle are we seeing right now?
This is a video from 14 Mott Street looking across the intersection up West Street towards Myrtle Avenue.
Okay. Chelsea, stop it there. When you were looking at this video, on all the videos, what in particular were you focusing on with regards to the defendant's vehicle?
I was looking for passengers or other identifying features of the vehicle, as well as other items that may have been in the vehicle at the time, such as the child that we were looking for.
In relation to the car itself, though, in addition to the loud muffler, you have some video that doesn't have audio. Visually, what were you looking for?
I knew it was a Nissan Sentra, an older model. It had a low-hanging exhaust that was visually defective as well as loud audibly. Had a sunroof, didn't have tinted windows, and it had specific Nissan stock wheels on it.
Do you recall whether or not there was a front license plate on the vehicle?
It did not have a front license plate.
Is that something that you would have looked for?
Yes.
Now, in relation to this video, part of the video here, 273 Derby Ave, was this slowed down?
Yes, it was.
For what purpose was it slowed down for?
The vehicle was traveling at a rather high rate of speed going past the condo where it was being videoed from, and we slowed it down to try to identify any identifying features on the vehicle.
And would this be going towards or away from St. Michael's Church?
That would be going towards St. Michael's Church.
And would this be going towards or away from St. Michael's Church, this view?
Away from St. Michael's Church.
And if you get to the end of the street here, is there a traffic light at the end of the street?
Yes, there is.
And what's the intersection at the end of this Derby Avenue here?
That'd be the intersection of Derby Avenue, Division Street, Elm Street, and Main Street, Ansonia.
And this would be the Shell gas station?
Correct.
Now again, is this is the Shell gas station? Would this be, is this the 11 minutes off?
Correct.
Okay, so if we're looking at the time and date in the corner, this would be December 1st, Sunday, December 1st, 2019 at 6:18 a.m.?
Correct.
Again, this is still the Shell station?
Correct.
And this next view would be Maria's Hair Gallery,
Yes.
approximate to real time?
Approximate to real time, yes.
That's another Shell station video right there?
Yes.
And this is the Auto Repair Unlimited video?
Yes, it is.
So if you're going down Judson Place right now, where this car just took the right from Cottage, Myrtle Ave would be where?
It'd be on the right-hand side.
This is from Mount Street. Mount Street. That one's Cottage, right? Mount Street, yeah. Both again, Mount Street, yeah. This is what time did this say?
We just saw the Mott Street camera. Is this the car coming from Mott Street towards
Correct.
Judson Place? Now, this next part of the video is going into Monday, December 2nd. You said one of the target cars was Christine Holloway's car?
Yeah, it was a recently purchased black four-door Ford Focus.
Okay. Now, in relation to that clip that we just saw at 4:29 a.m. on December 2nd, were you able to, you had information from call detail records with regards to the coming and goings of certain handheld devices at this point in time?
Yeah, so the information regarding Jose Morales' cell phone and Christine Holloway's cell phone, there were trips that were made out to New Haven. And based on that information, I went back and reviewed the video to find what appears to be the black Ford Focus leaving and coming back on 2 times on the morning of the 2nd.
This is West Street. That car just went up West Street.
Yes, that's West Street, and it's taking a left onto Myrtle Avenue and stopping right there where 6.5 Myrtle Avenue is.
Is this vehicle to stop sign the vehicle that you were focusing on?
Yes.
Now, in connection to this investigation, were you aware that there was a welfare check
Yes, I
at
was.
6.5 Myrtle Ave? Okay. And the footage we're about to see is the welfare check from December 2nd?
Correct.
And that would have been what, do you remember what officer that was?
That was Officer Chris Kelly.
Would that be the officer at the top of Myrtle Ave there, crossing west?
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are ready to proceed. Counsel, please stipulate to the presence of our jury.
In the presence of the jury.
State will stipulate, Your Honor.
All right, we're all set. Attorney Gavin, are you ready for cross?
All set.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
Good, yourself?
Great. Did a lot of hard work in this case.
There was a lot of hard work.
All right. I have all the police reports, so I'm just going to run through chronologically with you what it appears, the efforts that you took as part of this investigation. And we start off on Monday, December 2nd, and I think you said at that time you were primarily assigned to the DEA task force. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and you wouldn't have been assigned to report out of the Ansonia Police Department when you're on the task force, correct?
We do get called in for major cases.
Right, but in your normal affairs, you're working with the task force. You're not going to the Ansonia PD Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, that is correct.
Right, okay, all right. So you're doing your job at the task force on Monday, and I think you told us you got contacted to report to the Ansonia Police Department. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you went down to the task force. Do you remember what time you got there? Approximately. I don't need the...
My hours at the task force are 9 to 5.
Okay, so it would have been after you were after the task force.
When I responded to the police department,
Yes.
I got the call around 9 o'clock at night.
Okay, so 9 to 5 at the task force, went home or did whatever you did, and then you got a call about 9 p.m. On Monday night?
Yes.
Okay, and then you reported to the Ansonia Police Department, and then at the Ansonia Police Department, you realized or were told or you were advised that there was an ongoing investigation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then do you know who Officer Nelson is?
Yes, I do.
And who's Officer Nelson?
Officer Brendan Nelson, he's a junior officer to me.
Okay,
Works for the police department.
at the Ansonia Police Department,
Correct.
correct? Right, and he was involved in this investigation as well, correct?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so I think you told us that the first task that you had was, after reporting to the Ansonia Police Department, was to go ahead and travel to 105 First Avenue in New Haven. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the purpose was to check on some vehicles there. Is that correct?
Locate Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra.
Okay, that was your charter for that evening on Monday evening, was to find Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra.
Correct.
Right, and that's the Nissan Sentra we just saw in all the videos, the montage.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Sure, yeah, and you went there and you got there in the evening hours, correct?
Yes, late evening, going into the next early morning hours.
Okay, and did you go up to the residence at that point, or did you and Officer Nelson just sit and wait once you discovered the vehicle?
We sat and waited in the car, just maintained visual surveillance of the vehiil.
Okay, and you didn't want anyone to move the vehicle or drive away with the vehicle, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you told us at one point that you had actually walked down to take a look into the vehicle from the exterior of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And was it snowing heavily at that point?
I believe it was snowing on and off at the time.
Okay, great. And how long were you there with Officer Nelson before other brother and sister officers arrived?
I don't know the exact time of our arrival in New Haven, but the other officers arrived around 3:40 a.m.
Okay, and that was people like Detective Adcox and Detective Froelich and other brother and sister officers from the Ansonia Police Department.
And New Haven Police Department as well.
And New Haven, because you had alerted them that you were there to go ahead and observe the Nissan Sentra.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. And then about 3:40 in the morning, officers approached 105 First Avenue and made entry voluntarily into the homes.
Correct.
Did you go in then?
I did.
You went into the house with, I'm going to pick on him, Detective Adcox or Detective Froelich, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when you got into the house, did you observe that Mr. Morales was there?
He was called up from the basement.
Okay. Well, it was 3:40 in the morning, right? People were asleep at that point?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it'd be fair to assume at 3:40 in the morning. Which one? You went into the house. You met Marcos Garcia, you told us, correct?
Correct.
His stepfather, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you met his mother, did you not? Lydia
Yes.
De Jesus, right? She was there as well. And at some point, Mr. Morales, I think you just said, came from the basement and went up into the living room, kitchen area of the home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at that point, was Mr. Morales under arrest?
No.
Was he asked to go voluntarily to the Ansonia Police Department to be interviewed?
Yes.
And did he agree to voluntarily go to the Ansonia Police Department to be interviewed?
Yes.
Okay. And I take it, well, did you go with him to the Ansonia Police Department, sir?
No, I did not.
Okay. You stayed and continued to secure the vehicles. Is that correct?
Correct. Myself
Okay.
and Officer Nelson.
All right, great. So Mr. Morales left from New Haven, went up to the Ansonia Police Department. You didn't go, and I think you told us, correct me if I'm wrong, that at some point in the early morning hours, a tow truck would have come, would have secured the Nissan Sentra, and would have taken it to Troop I in Bethany. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay, and you observed all of that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And by the time that did you travel with the car all the way up to Bethany?
I did. I followed it.
Okay. So now it's probably past daybreak at that point or close to it, correct?
Yeah, I believe it was 5:40 when we towed the vehicle from New Haven.
5:40 in the morning, okay, and then had to go all the way up to Bethany.
Correct.
Okay, so that's Monday. What did you do in regard to the investigation on Tuesday?
The following day, I responded to the Troop I barracks, and my presence was there while the CSP Major Crimes processed the Nissan Sentra.
Great. Can you just tell us what you mean by major crime process, the Nissan Sentra?
Yeah, so there was a search warrant for Jose Morales' Nissan Sentra that we towed there, and Connecticut State Police Major Crimes Unit was the one that executed the search warrant, processed the evidence, sealed the evidence on scene, which was later turned over to myself to transport to the Ansonia Police Department.
Okay. And I know you were on the task force, but it's not unusual in major investigations for local agencies like Ansonia to call on the Connecticut State Police to assist. Is that fair?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Not on a shoplifting charge or a speeding ticket, but on serious investigations. Is that correct?
Yes.
And they're available unless they're out on another scene, correct? Yeah?
To the
Okay.
best of my knowledge, yes.
All right, so they processed the car, you're up there, you're just sort of observing that you're not actually doing the processing, correct? On the
Correct.
Nissan Sentra. Okay, and what did you do next at that point?
I left the Troop I barracks, traveled to Ansonia to 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, put on personal protective equipment to enter the residence, which was still under maintenance by our officers there for the active search warrants, and went into the residence to obtain Christine Holloway's Ford Focus key,
Okay,
and then that vehicle was towed to Troop I barracks as well.
great, okay. And when you say the property was secured, 6.5 Myrtle I'm talking about, the property was secured, you went in to get the Ford Focus key, that's the black Ford Focus, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and that residence was secured, meaning that the public couldn't go in there, or anybody could go in there at that point, correct?
correct. It was an active crime scene still.
Active investigation, correct? Yep. And you told us that search warrants had been granted to go into 6.5 Myrtle at that point, correct?
Yes,
And was there also a search warrant for the Ford Focus?
yes. I'm not sure exactly what time the search warrant was signed, but
Oh. And you were able to retrieve the keys for the Ford Focus?
yes,
Okay, from inside the residence is 6.5.
correct.
Okay, and what'd you do with the keys?
I transported the keys and followed the tow truck, which towed the vehicle to Troop I.
Okay, and was the vehicle processed at Troop I at that point?
Yes, it was.
Okay, had they completed the processing of the Sentra?
Yes.
Okay, and then now the Ford Focus had shown up and you had the keys so we could start the car and get in the locked vehicle, correct?
Yeah, they processed it the same as they would any other vehicle.
Great, and you observed that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then there appears to be a notation that you and Detective Brian Hart started to interview neighbors in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Avenue. Is that correct?
This is on the same date.
Yes, sir. On December 3rd at 6:26 p.m.
I have to see my report exactly to see who was interviewed, but
Okay.
it sounds about right. At that time, there was a lot going on, so we were breaking off in different directions constantly.
Okay. I respect that and I understand that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. Just obviously, we had the Ford Focus issue up to Troop I. You didn't go home after that. You continued to assist in the investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And do you recall when? I know it's 5 years ago. Do you recall whether or not you went ahead and assisted in regard to a canvass in the neighborhood at that point?
I have to see my report to see exactly what I did on that evening after I transported the evidence back.
If you don't recall, it's okay.
I don't recall off
Yeah.
the top of my head.
That's okay. All right. Now, let me talk to you about Thursday now on December 5th, okay? All right? I think you identified that you arrived up at the Community Crusade for Children, the Kid Education Facility up in Hamden. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you go up there with any other brother or sister detectives?
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head who else was there, but most of us in the Detective Bureau responded there.
Okay. All right. So let me just ask you this. If you recall, what was your responsibility when you went up to Hamden to Kid Education?
Once we arrived there, the main priority was to make sure all the evidence that was coming off the trucks, possible evidence coming off the trucks, was secured. The facility was basically secured, the entire facility, until major crimes arrived on scene. They processed the facility for any evidence.
Right. And when we say we processed it, I'm just going to go a little quick here. That means that Connecticut State Police Major Crime came and they went through all the bins and all the bags and they notated the evidence and they cataloged the evidence. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you didn't have to do any of that?
We did. We all took part in some of the searching of different areas based on the large amount of clothing and shoes and other stuff they called trash that was there. So we did participate in some of that.
In the search, but you weren't cataloging evidence item 47, 48, 49, 50. That was Connecticut State Police that did that?
Correct.
Okay, great. And were you there all day?
A large portion of the day.
Okay. Do you recall, sir, taking custody of Jose Morales at some point and bringing him to the Ansonia Police Department to execute the body warrant?
I recall that incident, yes.
Okay, just tell us what happened in regard to the body warrant.
So on December 3rd, after Jose Morales was transported for the voluntary interview at the police department, he was transported back to 105 First Avenue. A search warrant was obtained for 105 First Avenue in New Haven.
Yes.
Upon execution of the search warrant, myself and another officer located electronic defense weapons, stun guns,
Yep.
within Jose's bedroom pursuant to the search warrant.
Yep.
He was a convicted felon at the time when we looked it up. So I contacted my connection at New Haven Police Department.
I'm just asking about the body warrant. Did
Well,
you take him?
this all led up to the transport of the body warrant.
Let me withdraw the question. Wasn't there a body warrant, a search warrant executed by a court, Judge Pearson?
Yes, there was.
Okay, and you took Mr. Morales in custody and you went ahead and executed the body warrant. Is that correct?
He had to be transported to a place for the body warrant to be
Great, and that was the Ansonia Police Department.
correct. But he wasn't in custody For that purpose, at the time, he was in custody for the stun gun.
I understand, but you transported him for the execution of the body warrant, the lawful authority to go ahead and inspect his body. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you there during that?
I did not stay for the body search warrant.
Okay, you just transported him up to Ansonia PD
Correct, myself and Officer Castillo.
and Officer Castillo from New Haven up to Ansonia PD, and then you didn't stay around after that?
I don't know if I was still in the facility, but I wasn't present while the state police conducted that search warrant.
Okay. You don't know whether, or do you know whether the Ansonia PD or state police had a warrant?
I don't know off the top of my head. I wasn't involved in it.
Okay. Let's see if we can move on. After the body warrant was executed, there were a number of search and seizure warrants that were authorized by a judge of the Superior Court to go into 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And did you participate in any of those searches?
I believe I was there for one of them.
Okay. Okay. And what was your responsibility for the one that you were there?
To search for the items that were listed on the search warrant. I believe at that time it was items related to the missing child investigation.
Okay. Sir, did there come a point where you started to review the surveillance videos, that some of which we saw in the montage?
Yes.
When was that?
I can't exactly recall when I first started, because every time I would get a chance and video would come in, I would start trying to view it, and then we'd get called to education or other topics. The first video I did watch was Officer Kelly's body worn camera, and that would have been on the second, prior to heading over to the residence at 105 First.
Okay. Was it significant for you to go out and other brother and sister officers to see if you could obtain neighborhood surveillance video to see if there was any indication that the Nissan Sentra, the Ford Focus, was in the area 6.5 Myrtle?
In these types of investigations, large-scale investigations,
Yeah.
one of my top priorities is always to go out and not specifically look for any particular vehicles, but to secure any available surveillance video that may be out there so it doesn't get deleted or destroyed.
What did you do to secure any video that it wouldn't be deleted or destroyed?
So when we find video,
No, what did you do?
what did I do?
Yeah.
I went to different locations, Derby Avenue, Auto Repairs Unlimited, Main Street Shell Station, for example, and those videos were copied to thumb drive to secure them.
Okay, so let's just take the Shell gas station, for example, okay? Did you go out there and obtain that video? We saw it in the montage that was admitted.
So Officer Castillo had first went to the Main Street Shell gas station to try to obtain the video, but the manager wasn't there. I went as a follow-up. I wasn't familiar with that system, and at that point I called Detective Sergeant Froelich at the time, who was at the
Okay.
and members of the FBI responded to help download that video footage.
Okay. I'm just sort of asking you in general because we know, and we're going to play the montage again, not with you, you don't have to worry about that, but we're going to play the montage again. But there were certain locations where video was obtained, like on Derby Avenue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Auto Body Unlimited, correct?
Correct.
Maria's Hair Design,
Yes.
correct? By the way, before I get too far, on Derby Avenue, were you able to recover any video of the Morales vehicle at St. Michael's at the donation boxes?
No. I tried.
Tried but unsuccessful?
Correct.
Okay. So, as the investigation continued, you wanted to go ahead and collect video to see if there was anything of evident significance. Is that fair?
Correct.
And you did that, correct? Okay. Now, then did there come a point where you accompanied I believe it was Detective Adcox to the New Haven Correctional Facility to interview Mr. Morales.
Yes.
Objection, this is outside the scope.
It's part of the investigation.
Well, I mean, it is outside the scope. I'm gonna ask the jury to step out. Attorney Gavin, it is outside the scope, it seems, to the court. Why don't you tell me your profile on this?
I have 2 questions left. The last things that my records indicate that the officer did was he accompanied brother and sister officers to the New Haven Correctional Facility on 12/30 and also on 12/12. Those are my last 2 questions. Just part of the investigation. I'm not going to go into what happened in the interviews or anything like that.
Of him going to the facility.
What's the relevance?
Part of his investigative efforts.
All right, so you're not going in the investigation at this time at the corrections facility.
Oh no, that's Detective Adcox.
All right, so relative to his conduct as part of this particular investigation, I'm assuming it had something to do with this particular part of the investigation, is that correct?
With regards, well, just so we're clear, what part of the investigation we're talking about?
Right.
On December 12th and also on December 30th, he went to New Haven Correctional where Mr. Morales was interviewed. He didn't conduct the interviews, Your Honor, so I don't want to...
Right, so Attorney Gavin, I'm just trying to stay within the confines of my order. If the purpose to go there was pursuant to investigating the disappearance of Vanessa Morales subsequent to Mr. Morales's arrest with respect to this particular part of the investigation, then that may or may not be opening the door. I don't want to do that. So if you want to provide the court some clarity.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I didn't hear what you just said, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
So I said to provide some clarity because if we all know the scope of the court's order, I don't have to repeat it, right?
Right.
So if the purpose in going for those particular interviews was for this investigation or this part of the investigation, then that's one thing. If it had to do with follow-up relevant to the disappearance of Vanessa Morales, we're not going to bring that before this jury. So I just, and that was at your request,
Yes, absolutely.
counsel, so I just want to make sure that we're all clear on this before we start opening doors.
Your Honor, to answer your question directly, Mr. Morales wasn't arrested until February.
Okay.
So the investigation that led to his ultimate arrest was ongoing.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into any details in regard to what happened there because he didn't conduct the interview. It's just part of his investigation that he went there on 2 occasions. Questions I have.
All right, I just wanted to make sure it was not subsequent to the arrest in this matter and it was not solely related to the disappearance of the child. You can understand why.
Sure, and I agree, and I appreciate that because that was my request. But this officer, I think, will testify that he didn't conduct any investigations up there. I believe that that's factually accurate.
All right, so if it, as it relates to this particular investigation, the fact of the matter that he actually went to the corrections for the purpose of being an alongside for an interview, I don't have a problem with. But there was nothing asked about the interview. I don't want to get into that. That is definitely outside the scope.
Yeah, and he couldn't even answer because he didn't participate.
That's fine. Then I'll allow those 2 questions
So I
limited
guess
to that.
my other question is, how is it relevant then if he didn't participate, right?
I guess it's just to show what he did relevant to this investigation. He has been asked about his conduct relevant to this investigation. So we've already allowed questions about canvassing the neighborhood. which was also outside the scope. So I'm going to allow it as it relates to the investigation, just the fact that he did those two things as an assist, and other than that, I'm not going to allow you to get into details, okay? All right, so subject to those limitations.
I feel like the state would be at a disadvantage, though, Your Honor, if the question was asked, because on redirect, if I said, well, why did you go to?
Well, why don't we play that out right now? Attorney Gavin asked the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Detective, two last questions for you. Do you recall going to New Haven Correctional Facility on December 12, 2019 with Detective Tresser and, with you, excuse me, and Sergeant Froelich?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall going to the New Haven Correctional Facility on December 30th, 2019 as well?
Based on my recollection, I was there the
Right.
second time.
I'm not going to ask him this in front of the jury, but just for purposes of the proffer. You didn't conduct the interview with Mr. Morales, correct?
I did not.
Yeah.
So my question would be, why did you go?
What was your purpose in going?
So when we conduct investigations and interviews, generally we go in pairs. We don't go somewhere by ourselves. So we go either in pairs or three of us travel together. Depends on what the crimes are, where we're going, just in case other assistance is needed.
I'll allow it. It doesn't seem prejudicial to the state. It's not outside the scope, and it doesn't get into any of the details of the interview, which this particular witness did not take part of. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep it limited to that proffer. And is there anything else that needs to be heard?
Then
No?
I have no other questions for the officer.
All right, so we'll bring the jury back in. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our counsel, please stipulate to the return of our jurors.
State will stipulate.
All right, so the objection was, it was overruled in part, sustained in part. You will hear an answer to the question. Why don't you re-ask the question, Attorney Gavin?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Detective Tresser, last question for you, sir. Okay. Do you recall, as part of your investigative efforts, going to the New Haven Correctional Center on December 30th, 2019?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Attorney
Nothing
Jurison,
from
nothing further. All right, very good. Sir, you may step out of the witness box. You're all set. Thank you.